these should swing much less. And only when they swing less can we start observing them. Otherwise, we are highly involved in the reality and pains of this world. Not just pains, but also pleasures. One side is extremely great and the other side is equally as painful. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Goddesses channel. Today I'm going to be talking about duality, and I've talked about this before, but I want to discuss how it incorporates into the abstract spectrum. The abstract spectrum is the video I did previous to this, and this is going to be part 2. So what I want to relay in this video is that everything comes in twos, and when you start realizing this, it's quite surprising. The main thing that duality encompasses is the poles, so the most extreme parts of everything. Basically, everything in this world swings from front to back and forth. Within our body, we can recognize this because we go from good moods to bad moods and back and forth. We go from sick to healthy. We go from excited to sleepy. When it comes to emotions, they come in love and fear. So my video on this already, I discussed how to recognize love and fear and the different forms of them. When it comes to the form of God, it's also in twos. So the abstract spectrum goes from nothingness to everythingness. And in between, there's abstraction, but ultimately there is the duality of the poles. So giant swings are part of this duality, and duality is never extreme. It's never on one side or the other. It always fluctuates. But when you recognize the extremes, then you can start seeing that there's always movement between them. When it comes to being a spiritual person, there's also a pendulum that you swing between. So you can go between everything, finding everything magical, finding everything spiritual and a part of God, and seeing that you can relate things to God and feel from them as well. But when you swing all the way to the other side, you feel depressed, you do not feel connected anymore. So these poles are actually archetypes that when we recognize them, we can climb the ladder of the spiritual ladder, which is encompassed in the chakras, and then find oneness up here. In our lowest chakra, the root chakra, the two sides down here are competing neck to neck until death just to survive. This is the farthest that they will ever be. And just like in the emotional spectrum of the Hawking scale, the negativity is most felt in the lower chakras. The poles are farthest apart. Then we go up into the higher chakra, which deals with pleasure. And here the two poles are closer together, but you seek pleasure in the other pole. You see how the opponent in your world can give you satisfaction, such as with food or with people, making you feel good. The third chakra is even closer. The poles get closer. So this is the willpower one. And here you are in competition. So how can I win over the other person without killing them, but also feeling as if you have won? In the love chakra, they get closest and they actually unite. But here you can see how you can help another person. It's the most empathetic chakra. When you help another person and you're tuned into your heart chakra, you also feel as if you're helping yourself. But there's still polarity here. You feel there's you and there's another person. So all these poles are coming closer and closer, and in the heart chakra, they are experiencing oneness in empathy. But empathy is always implying that you and another person are separate. In the throat chakra, you start recognizing these archetypes, and they actually merge into one, they mesh into one, but they are still two at this point. Have you ever recognized how your body has two sides to it? It's actually so weird, isn't it? There's 2 feet, there's 2 eyes, 2 hands. We are split in half, and this duality is meant for us to realize that altogether when you merge us, our entire being is actually one. Both things help us in being one. So these are some divine metaphors that you can see in reality. You can see these metaphors everywhere and realize this day to day. It's something that can help you remember that where there's duality, you always identify with one comfortably, but the other side, you have a difficulty recognizing. So when you can understand both of them, this is when you can rise up and flow through your chakras, realizing that both sides are combined to find oneness. So in the throat chakra, it deals with truth, and when you start recognizing these archetypes, right, the archetypes of the polarities, then you can realize that there's truth in the archetypes, but where is the actual truth? It's meant to lead you up higher. The third eye here is actually one, right? The third eye is not a real thing. It is fictional because it is meant to combine two into one here. This is where we actually become insightful about duality encompassed into oneness. Illusion is what blocks our third eye opening. Your third eye can be open. Nobody's gonna see an open third eye, but it can be open when you see that duality comes into one. And finally, when you do realize this, you come into the oneness of the crown chakra. But from the heart center, when you realize there's you and another person, it's the most difficult. Most people are really in their lower chakras. When it comes to being empathetic, after that you have to realize that it's only observation that helps you climb the ladder of the chakras. So when you observe these large swings, the biggest swing is below. I'm just gonna stand up. The biggest swing is going to be in your root chakra, and then the swing goes closer and closer, and the heart chakra still swings. You feel the duality between you and another person. You can feel the connection between you and a person because it's closest here. Then the throat chakra is just a bit of swing, and you're realizing that, oh yes, the two archetypes are actually closer. The two poles are actually closer than I thought they were. They combine here, and here it's your duty to recognize that the smallest swing will never be retracted from, unless you want to be very retracted from the world, very distant from everything. This is not recommended. Even the most spiritual of students are recommended to involve themselves in this world because it's our duty to be a part of this world. Even if ultimately we are meant to evolve past it into oneness, we are still meant to evolve ourselves, and involving ourselves is how we actually return back. So the third eye, you are meant to simply observe the swings that occur in your lower chakras. And from here, the swings decrease and decrease and decrease until you can observe it all from above, and you can realize that yes, the swinging nature of it all is where the truth actually is. We can't stop these swings, we can only observe them, and once we observe them, we are retracted. So this is the higher part of the abstract spectrum, but in realizing this, we see that it all is duality. So you can imagine this as a triangle. Basically, there's a pendulum that always swings, but you never want to bring these two things to a standstill. Standstill is only temporary, and it gives you a false sense of stability. They are meant to swing. Yes, it is our responsibility to stop swinging so abruptly. We should not be swinging all the way. And modern psychology helps us bring this down as well. But when it comes to spiritual evolution, these should swing much less. And only when they swing less can we start observing them. Otherwise, we are highly involved in the reality and pains of this world. Not just pains, but also pleasures. One side is extremely great and the other side is equally as painful, right? So observation is what it takes to realize that these two things are one. So how can we learn to observe? Observing, the only way to do this is meditation. I'm sure you're tired of hearing this from everywhere, but meditation is how we can observe the duality of this world, because we calm our mind, we calm our senses, and then we connect back to our God self that is within our core, and we can observe everything that is happening around us without being involved in it. Thank you for watching today. If you like this, please press the like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Okay, bye-bye.